ultimate supercar back in the 90s. And one of my favourite cars. Oh, there's the compressor. Perfectly timed. Fantastic. Hey everyone, Plot Sam. Welcome to the Patreon exclusive video build of Fujimi's 124th McLaren F1. So this is a kit I've had for quite some time in the stash of one of my favourite cars of the 90s. Probably the most goated car, certainly of that era, and if not of all time. This was, came out shortly after the XJ220 and just absolutely destroyed the thing. 240 odd mile an hour, phenomenal feat of engineering, and just an epic car all round. As I said in previous videos, this is going to be part of my journey through the McLaren cars, the SLR Mercedes, McLaren F1, the McLaren P1, the McLaren Senna, and the Gordon Murray Automotive T50, which is the next build I'm going to do. Like I said, I've had this kit for a while. It's had the bonus of having a detail upset in the box as well. I'm not going to spoiler alert the video. It doesn't turn out to be the best kit. So, yeah, it's a bit disheartening. There's only going to be 2 build videos this one, and the condensed one for ISM. So, yeah. Don't get your hopes up. I'll do the best I can. But yeah, it'll become apparent as we go through the build. So, let's jump in with a quick look through the box to begin with. And so, the Fujimi 124th McLaren F1, a kit of the legendary GOAT of modern day supercars, in my opinion. Nice surprise with the kit. We get a detailed upset, which we'll look at in a little bit. Completely forgot about that. I picked this up on eBay quite some time ago. I know it's a basic kit. Sadly, I wasn't aware just how basic it is, but we'll get to that later. So the body shell is nice. Wheels are good. Looking good. Actually quite a nice finish on them. Tyre treads look good. The rear tyre profile is way too high. Way too high. They didn't have the lowest profile tyres on the rear car, but those rears are far too big. Did have a look in the spares box, nothing that'll fit, so we're just going to have to roll with it, unfortunately. But as you can see, very high sidewall on those. Clear parts, not actually too bad for a Fujimi kit. Pretty good, nice clean locating points as well. So they're going to cause any issues gluing things in place. So yeah, quite nice to see some good clear parts for a change on a Fujimi kit. So we've got the iconic side windows, front screen, the rear screen here as well, the engine cover, side windows. We've got the iconic doors there. We've got the trunk, front luggage compartment cover. We've got the interior with dashboard, exhaust seat, etc. Very basic interior, not the best. We've got some suspension components there. We've got some more brake steering, the terrible engine bay, which is an unbelievable disappointment in this kit, and the flat chassis pan on this as well. Door cards, gear shifter, some rear panels which we're not going to use, and then we've got the kit decals. Actually decent decals in this as well. A mask set that comes with the kit, but sadly you've got to cut it out yourself. And then instructions. Now, Fujimi instructions, I'll give them credit. They are normally very good. Very clear, very simple, very, very concise. No issues with decal instructions on Fujimi kit at all. It is a very, very simple kit, and as I got through the build, I'm not going to lie, it got more and more disappointing as we went. The interior is very basic. The engine bay is laughable. It really is. This needs somebody with a 3D printer and the skill to print off some aftermarket parts for it to make the engine bay a lot better than it is and to spruce up the interior a bit. But we'll make the most of it, and we'll make what Joe Camilleri calls a what does he call it? It's a look at model. It's one of the ones that look good on the shelf, but not one to be getting up close to and have a look inside and the engine, because, well, you'll see what happens with that later on. But like I say, Fujimi instructions, always enjoy these instructions. They're very clear, very concise, so no issues here at all. Very simple assembly. It's not going to be a challenging build at all. Now, like I say, the nice surprise was this detail upset with a rather nice PE set, We've got some very nice PE pieces in there for the grills, the brakes, and what have you. We've also got some very nice turned aluminium exhaust tips, pre-cut masks for the windows, which is great. And the instructions, which to be fair, are actually quite good for some of the aftermarket parts, telling you what you need to replace. So we've got a replacement rear grille, window wipers, pedals, brakes, the mask set, like I say, which is pre-cut. There's lovely exhausts. So yeah, a worthy addition if you can get this with it as well. There is one of these on eBay at the minute. It's not cheap in the UK. It does come with the detail upset. So we're going to start up on the body. So the body's quite nice. It's got a few sink marks here and there. If the kit had been worth it, and this is my own opinion, I'd have spent the time to get rid of them. But after looking through the box, I could tell this kit was just going to be it's a shelf one. It's just one to get done, get it out of the way, and hope in the future somebody will produce one from a better manufacturer. I'd love Tamiya to pick this up. I doubt they ever would. Or even Alpha models would be great, because this is the original supercar for me. I remember this coming out back in the day. I think it was the mid-90s, wasn't it? Early 90s, like 92, 93. And, 240 odd mile an hour. Absolutely amazing machine. So it does deserve a better kit. So really disappointing overall. But like I say, we're going to build it. I know it seems a bit defeatist, but sometimes you just got to know when to call it a day. And yeah, we'll just make it look as good as possible on the outside. So a few seams on the outside to take care of. So using UMP sanders, we're going to sand those away. Just getting in around the wheel arches. I've left the strengthening parts on for now, just while we're cleaning everything up. They will need removing and sanding later on. I'm just going to lightly sand all around the A-pillars. There is a seam that goes all the way around, so you just need to take care of it. And just tidying up any areas where there's a little bit of loose plastic or a bit of flash. But overall, the bodywork, other than the sink marks, is actually pretty clean and was quite quick to clean up. Now, obviously, we've got the doors on this, which you can either have open or closed. You can't have both. So me being me, we're having them closed. So that's what we're going to plan to do. And once the body's cleaned up, we can remove all these strengthening pieces. Very carefully with our sprue cutters. Like so. And then we'll sand those clean with a UMP thinny stick and thinny sponge. There we go. A little bit of light panel scribing needed, just to clear out any debris that's in there. Not a lot at all. The panel lines are quite nicely pronounced, but where I've been sanding and what have you, I've got some dust in there and maybe lost a little bit of the definition of the panel line. So with my Holly scriber, I think it's the 0.2 I've got here, we're just going to go around and very lightly rescribe and just put back any detail we've lost from the sanding process. Nice plastic to work with, Fujimi as well. It's not that greasy, oily, horrible stuff that you get with some of the cheaper kits. So I have had Fujimi kits like that, but this one is actually a decent quality plastic kit. Like I say, with a 3D printer, you could turn this into a really nice model. I think if you remodel the engine bay and the interior, and maybe 3D printed some smaller wheels and tyres, well, tyres really, I think you could make this into a very, very nice model. Again, a little bit of light rescribing on the front. This is literally just where I've been sanding, just to get the definition back a bit more on the panel lines. Like I said, they are pretty well defined as is, but it doesn't harm going around with the scriber. Just be careful you don't slip, because you're making unnecessary work for yourself. Once we're happy all the body's cleaned up, we're going to scuff it all up with our Tamiya 2000 sponge. That way we remove any nasties that are on the body. We key it all ready for primer. And it's a case of just going around the entire model, just being very wary and careful of all these pillars at the back of the model, especially those A pillars, because they're going to be very, very weak. And like I say, this will give us a perfect keyed surface for our primer. So that is primarily why I do this. We've got the front luggage cover, I suppose it is, luggage compartment cover, which is a separate part on the kit. I'm not quite sure why. I guess it's something to do with the moulding process. So quick clean up of this. Fairly simple to clean up, just a little bit of flash basically. And the sprue point fits in place perfect, holds itself in there with no glue. So again, nice tolerances on the kit. There's a couple of very generous locating points there that literally clicks in place. But we are still going to glue it in place just for good measure. So there we go. That's that in place nicely. One side and then the other. Like I say, just be careful of those A-pillars. They look especially delicate. Once we've got it in, a little bit of our Tamiya extra thin mix. We're just going to let the capillary reaction carry around. We don't want to squeeze it at all. We're just going to let the glue melt the plastic and dry as is, because we don't want to destroy the panel line on top. And obviously make sure you don't get any drips or anything on your fingers and ruin all the hard work you've just done in preparing your body. The amount of times I've done that, yes, it does get annoying, so be very careful. And as always, put the lid back on your glue when you're done. The doors, now, this one just needs a little bit of bending to get it in shape. And to be fair, they're actually pretty decent. Now, I didn't want to commit to fully bending the top of the door because I knew there was glass to go in, so I thought we'll deal with that later on. Mirrors, very simple cleanup, but I thought I would pin these. So we clean them up with the C marks, drill a hole into the mounting point with our pin vise. And then a little dab of CA glue on some brass wire that's the perfect fit for the hole we just drilled. Pop that in. The CA glue will grab almost instantly. Then get some metal cutters to wipe off the excess glue. There we go. Just going to trim that a little bit shorter, and that way this will locate perfectly into the hole on the body. It just makes mounting more secure and a bit simpler later on down the line. We'll have a quick test fit as well. There you go, much easier. So if you can do this, I'd always recommend doing it. It does make fitting them a lot easier and fuss-free. And then there's this little panel that goes in front of the door as well. So test fitted it, make sure it fitted fine, cleaned it all up, popped it in place, and again, hit it with our Tamiya extra thin mix. Again, we don't want glue everywhere, so don't go mad with the glue. There we go, job done. And then we can cut the supports off the doors as well. You can just see how that's sprung then. But we're going to leave that be because when I offer it up, which I should do in a second, you'll see that it fits pretty well. Like I said, we've got some glass to go in here, so I'm hoping that will pull it together more. So with the door fitted in place, there's just a little bit of spring on the top, but we are going to glue these shut, so I know I can glue that later on. Now, mounting all the parts for primer, we're going to use a mixture of CA glue on cocktail sticks, drilling holes where needed, using holes where needed for cocktail sticks, and using crocodile clips to hold parts. But right now we're concentrating on the body panels. So there's some holes in the doors where we can put cocktail sticks in. I'm lengthening them so it makes it easier to handle using some Tamiya tape just to give me more of a secure hold. And then with everything mounted and ready to go, we can degrease the body. So this is ProScale Paint's pre-paint degreaser. Try saying that 3 times fast. We've got my old trusty Mickey Mouse toothbrush, and we're going to go around and just going to scrub the whole body. Now, this is a complex shape, this body. There's lots of nooks and crannies, hence why I'm using the toothbrush. So we're just going to go around, get in there, and this will now remove any fingerprints, any residue left behind, any marks from when you've been eating crisps or biscuits, you know, all the stuff we do while we're modelling. And this is more beneficial now than washing your sprues at the beginning, because you can wash your sprues at the beginning and then you're going to be handling it and putting fingerprint grease on it, body fat, which you do. It does happen. You do. Don't you know? So this stage is very important. Once you've gone around with the toothbrush, get some clean tissue and dry it all off. Now on shapes like this, which are especially complex, I think it's worthwhile grabbing some cotton buds and cleaning out all the cleaner from all the nooks and crannies. Now, it is alcohol-based cleaner, so it does evaporate, but it's better to speed up the process now than let it sit there and potentially be there when you prime, because that's my next step after this. So go around, clean it all up. And like I say, you got a cotton bud and all the nooks and crannies and dry it all off. So as always, perfect preparation prevents piss poor performance, isn't it? All the P's. We're in the booth now. We've given the body a wipe over with our Tamiya anti-static brush. We've got our ProScale Paint black microfiller primer. We've got our Water CR3 Revolution, which is a 0.3mm airbrush from my Water. We're at 18 psi, and we're going to put 2, 3, maybe 4 coats of Pro Scale Black primer down. So lots of complex shapes here, so we need to take our time. I should have my colour couplet on as well. I'm being very naughty again. So pay attention to all the recesses, all the corners, around all the lights, the grills. There's a lot of complex shapes on this. So like I say, just pay attention. I tend to do the first coat side to side, second coat up and down, and the last coat side to side as well. And as long as you pay attention to the nooks and crannies, more so than the flat areas, you'll get good coverage all around. And like I say, we don't want to put this down wet. That's as wet as I would go, and even that's pushing it a bit. There's no benefit in laying it down wet. It doesn't work like that. So just take your time, getting all around those grills, the lights, the door shuts, wheel arches, everywhere. And of course, you've got the other parts to prime as well. So prime and paint these at exactly the same time. So they'll all get the same number of coats, even coverage, etc., etc., etc. So there we go. Like I said, there are a few sink marks in the door, which is a bit of a shame. They didn't really become apparent until it was cleared, if I'm honest. I couldn't really see them until then, which is quite often the case sometimes. Seam marks can kind of reappear with paint, and as soon as you get a reflective surface on it, it will show any imperfections in the body. So just one of those things. Like I say, if I knew the kit was better, and I'd seen them, I'd have probably dealt with them. But yeah, this is just one of those kits that kind of I admit defeat on and just think, yeah, we're going to get it to look as good as we possibly can. Primer's been drying for several hours now, and we've got our Tamiya 3000 grit sponge. We're going to go around and very lightly scuff the surface. Now, as always, we're not trying to sand through. We don't want to see any plastic. We're just taking the very utmost surface of the primer off. That way, its microfilling properties work perfectly. We get a super smooth keyed surface for our paint. No blemishes on the body. All the high spots are gone. Any dust that may have landed, any spits of paint. And again, preparation is key. It's what makes the model pop at the end with hopefully flawless paint. And again, go around each panel gently. You don't want to burn through the paint. That is not the goal here. We're just trying to lightly key the upper surface and then wipe off any dust. So we're in the booth now. We've got our Iwata Revolution 0.3 Revolution again. We've got our Mclaren Magnesium Silver, which was a tough colour to find, but I did eventually find it. This was a specific colour I wanted to find, and in finding it, I found loads of other Mclaren colours, which are now all on the ProScale site. I just wanted to do a dark silver, not a gunmetal, just a dark silver. And this has got quite a nice magnesium hue to it as well. A little bit of a pearl effect to it. And yeah, it lays down absolutely beautiful. We're at 18 psi. We're going to put about 7 coats of paint down. Very, very light coats. Alternating between coats from side to side and up and down. And again, we're paying more attention to all the nooks and crannies. Around the windows, doors, everything like that. Rather than getting coverage down. We don't want to cover this in one go. As per usual, we just take our time, build it up nice and slow. We don't want wet coats. We want nice, dry, even coats. And you can see the colour coming through already. This is a beautiful colour, and I am very happy I picked this one for it. The McLaren's, the F1, I don't think it suits a lot of colour. It looks good in white, looks good in silver. Other than that, orange is probably my favourite, like the Volcano orange it came in. But this is definitely my favourite colour for this car. I did actually find one for sale in this colour. It was my kind of inspiration. Finding the colours is tricky, and as with a lot of people who follow McLarens and what have you, a lot of people think McLaren uses a lot of Mercedes colours, because I believe there are a lot of Mercedes components to some of the McLaren cars. So whether they have a close working relationship, I don't know. But yeah, I'm convinced as well that Mercedes have a little bit of helping hand with some McLaren stuff, including some of the colours. So yes, but this is a beautiful colour. As you can see, I don't know what coat we're on. We used a little bit of paint at the bottom, so I reckon we're about midway through. So we're probably about 4 coats in at this stage. And as you can see, we're getting beautiful coverage. A lovely, deep, metallic magnesium silver colour. And I think this colour really accentuates the lines of the car. Just makes it look absolutely stunning. It is a very pretty car, the McLaren F1. And as is the Gordon Murray T50 as well. I know a lot of people don't like the T50. I really love that car. I think it's epic. I know it looks like this, and I think that's a good thing. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm happy I chose this colour because I think it really accentuates the beautiful sweeping lines of this car. Right, so we're into our final coat. I would say we're about 8 coats in here. I think we used about half a bottle of paint there, or a third of a bottle of paint. It's quite hard to see. But the coverage, absolutely beautiful. Stunning colour. Very finely pigmented paint, as all our Pro Scales are. And yeah, it has a beautiful hue to it as well. Really, really nice colour. So very happy I chose this one. So, of course, safety aspects, my boots on. I've got a gloved hand on the left hand that gets paint on it. I've got my 3M half-face respirator on. I'm in the room on my own. There's a window cracked with some straight-through air. And, yeah, that's it. As long as you follow those precautions with any paints, not just lacquers, any paints at all, you'll be just fine spraying things. So there we go. That's that done. Here we go. A few hours later, the body has dried, and we're going to pop on our black Tamiya panel line wash. So not a huge amount of panel lines on this car. So it's going to go around, let them dry with a cotton bud with some Santador on. We'll wipe off the excess and then wipe off everything else with the piece of tissue there as well. Just nice and gentle. The Santador doesn't harm the lacquer surface, but that paper towel will. Just by abrasiveness, it'll sandpaper the paint off if you're not careful. So again, just go around, and as always, I always say it, once you're done, put it down, 10 minutes, come back, have a look, and I'll guarantee almost every time you'll find a piece you've missed slightly. So the panel line, again, accentuating the panel lines and just bringing the model to life a little bit. Looking really good. So just take your time here. The wash dries in about 20-30 minutes depending on room temperature. For an enamel wash, it does dry very, very fast. And this is on a satin finish, so it does come off with relative ease. I would recommend using a quality thinner like Santador from Winsor & Newton personally. I know a lot of people use White Spirit, but I like to use Winsor & Newton. So it's the following day. We've got a freshly cleaned out booth with fresh paper in, a fresh filter. We've got my Scott full face respirator here, my Iwata Revolution 0.5 CR5 there. So that's a 0.5 mil. We're going to be about 22 psi. We're going to wet all the kitchen paper, so any dust that lands doesn't get airborne again. The boots on. I've got my both hands covered, my left arm covered. Like I said, I've got my full face respirator on. We've got our box to the left to store our modelling between coats and after we've painted as well to keep it as dust free as possible. We've got our Pro Scale Paints 2K system, as always. There you go, you got your clear, activator and thinner. We've got a medicine cup on the bench, a medical grade one, which is what I'd recommend. And we're going to mix 10 millilitres of clear coat to 5 millilitres of activator to 2-to-1 mix of clear coat activator. So 10 ml of clear, 5 ml of activator. And like I said in one of the last videos, we are experimenting at the minute, well I am, with thinning ratios for the clear. So on this one, we're going to thin 10% for the first coat. We normally recommend 4.5 or 5, sorry. We're going to recommend, I'm going to use, 10% this time. So there's our activator and clear coat mix. So 10 ml of clear, 5 ml of activator gives us 15 ml combined. So these pipettes, use them once and throw them away. Put the lid on everything and then get it out of the way. Stir with the pipette you just used. Get the chemical reaction started. And then throw that pipette away forever and never ever reuse it. And then with our thinner, like I said, we've got 15 ml of combined clear and activator. So 10% of that is 1.5 millilitres. So that's 1.5 ml of thinner in there. And again, fresh pipette, stir that up. And then throw a pipette away and never use again. If you introduce that back into any of those bottles, you will contaminate the system and ruin the paint. As always, I always recommend straining the 2K, just because of the nature of 2K and it drying on the rims of the bottles. You can get a few bits drop in from time to time. I would always strain them. And then with our Tamiya anti-static brush, we're going to go around and dust everything off, as well as all the other panels. We've got the doors, mirrors, the little panels that go in front of the doors as well. And then we're going to start with our semi-wet first coat. So like I said, I water 0.5 airbrush, 22 psi. We're going with a semi-wet gloss. Now, we have thinned this more than normal, so it is going to flow a little bit easier out the brush and lay down a lot faster as well. So bear that in mind if you change your ratios, that the paint will flow quicker and you'll get a lot more down on the surface faster. So just be wary. Like I say, I'm experimenting at the minute just to see what works the best. And I will make a video on it in the end once I am happy. But if you follow our recommended guides, you still get a fantastic clear coat. I just think thinning this a little bit more, especially for the last coat, is definitely beneficial for a better self-leveling clear coat. But like I say, I'm just experimenting for now, just pushing the boundaries a bit on it. And once I'm happy and I've made my mind up, I'll make another video on it, just explaining ways you can try and make your clear coat a little bit easier to do, a little bit quicker, and a little bit simpler with better results. Like I say, we're paying attention to all those nooks and crannies, making sure we're doing overlapping passes, keeping the wet edge of the paint as we go. And there we go. There's our first wet coat. Make sure you're getting all those wheel arches on the bottom of the sills and the bumpers and what have you. Use your light to your advantage and angle everything. Once we're happy, we'll pop that back in the box, let that flash off for 5 minutes while we paint all the other parts as well. So, yeah, that goes back in the box. We shut the lid on the box. I have a front opening box, so it's just a little drop-down door at the front. And then we're going to put the same kind of coat on all the mirrors and other parts of doors and what have you. Just be aware on the smaller part, it's very easy to put too much paint down. So take your time, be very, very careful. Oh, there we go, nice and simple. Bit annoying, those little panels, they sit in front of the door. Yes, a bit strange. And then, yeah, onto the doors themselves as well. So on things like the doors, bonnets, and anything that opens like that, when you've done the front, make sure you get the sides as well, like this. See the way I'm just getting the edges? That way it keeps the clear coat nice and even. But the goal here is to get everything clear coated and back in that box as quick as possible. So like I say, they'll all go back in the box, let them flash off, which basically means the thinner evaporates off the surface. 5 minutes, it will also go super tacky, which then enables us to put our wet coat down without any fear of any runs later on. What we're going to do now is pop back any clear coat we had in the airbrush. We've got a fresh medicine cup. We're going to pour that in so we can read accurately on the marks on the side exactly how much we've got. And we're going to add another 10%. So if we've got, say, 10 millilitres of combined clear coat and activator left, we're going to put another milliliter of thinner in. Now, just this small amount will drastically change how this sprays. It'll spray a lot freer and put a lot more medium down on the surface. You need to be really careful here that you don't overspray and get runs. Nobody wants the runs. Trust me, nobody wants the runs. So just be aware that changing things like this, you need to change your spray style as well. So if you're happy using our recommended dosage, just use that. I'm just experimenting to see what I can get by pushing the clear coat a little bit. Again, throw the pipette away. It's 5 minutes later, everything has flashed off, and we're here now for our second coat. And as you can see, the clear coat spray is much thinner now. Covers a lot faster. So you don't need as much going down. And this is the idea with this. By thinning it, we're not going to need as much clear coat, and we'll end up with a thinner, more realistic clear coat, which we already get from ProScale already. So we're just going to try and see if we can improve on a great result we've already got. So again, just go around all the nooks and crannies, all the edges, wheel arches, bottom of the sills, bottom of the bumpers, front and rear, in and around all the lights. Just make sure you get that even clear coat. And just keep the wet edge. Just literally pass over the very edge you've just done ever so slightly. And you will get a much better clear coat. So there we go. Nice clear coat there. And again, use the light. Have a look around. If you think, does it need a little bit more? We'll leave a bit more. What we're going to do is pop that back in the box for another 90 seconds or so while we spray the other parts. That will self-level a little bit more. And we may not even need to put any more down. So we'll spray all the doors, mirrors, and these inserts again. So again, on the smaller spots, on the smaller parts especially, just be wary that you're now spraying a thinner clear coat, because it's very easy to flood smaller parts. So just take your time. Build it up slowly. Colour's really starting to pop now. That magnesium silver looks phenomenal. It's darkened it up a touch, which I knew it would. And yeah, very, very pretty colour. It looks absolutely fantastic. And there we go. We're 90 seconds later. We'll have a quick look. So using the light, we're angling the model. We're looking for orange peel. So if it's not completely glass smooth, we need to put a little bit more clear coat down. So I'm angling it towards the light, just having a look. We see a little bit of area that needs a touch more. We'll just put a very light pass over it. But it's looking good. The colour looks phenomenal. Looks really, really good. But yeah, don't be afraid of putting more down. You can push this. You really can push it a lot further than you think. And however it's left now is how it's going to dry. So you want to get it as good as possible at this stage. If it's got orange peel now and it's not crystal clear or like glass smooth, it's going to dry like that. So you want it to be super smooth like this, very reflective. And this is your chance to get rid of it. The 2K is very, very very, very forgiving, self-leveling. It will sort out any orange peel. It'll just level out right in front of your eye. So don't be afraid to push it at all. But it's looking good. The colour looks phenomenal. Very happy with the colour. So we'll pop that back in the box while we just have a quick look at these last few parts. And then we'll take it out and have a final inspection after we clean the airbrush. So having a look at everything. This is where it's also important to have everything securely mounted when you're doing things like this. So we clean the airbrush out. We're just going to have one final look before we commit to throwing the 2K away and clearing the airbrush fully. And yeah, I'm happy with that. 2K looks fantastic. The colour looks phenomenal. Great coverage. Beautiful 2K. A little bit of dust, as we always get. And that's it. So all the other parts are good as well. The doors, the mirrors, etc. are good. That's us done for part 1. We're back for part 2, which is the final part of this build. And get this build finished. So thanks for watching today. I will catch you all next time. Enjoy the rest of the day. Take care. Bye-bye.